Now, I am honored to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. Kelvin Sharp, who is an outstanding member of Chadron State College's alumni and who continues to make his mark on the world. From the small town of Tryon in the Sandhills, Dr. Sharp came to Chadron State College and graduated in 1979 with a bachelor's degree in physics and mathematics. While here, he excelled in the sport of rodeo and fit in well with Chadron's Western atmosphere. Dr. Sharp is currently the president of South Plains College in Levelland, Texas, a position he has held since December of 2004. Prior to becoming an administrator at South Plains College, he taught mathematics at both the high school and college levels for the better part of 20 years. His experience also includes 3.5 years as Dean of Instruction at Clarendon College in Texas and a 4-year stint as rodeo coach at West Texas A&M University. In addition to his degree from Chadron State, Dr. Sharp obtained a Master of Arts degree and a Doctor of Education degree from Texas Tech University. If you would like to know more about Dr. Sharp, please refer to today's commencement program. Dr. Sharp is accompanied today by his wife, Lissa, daughter, Lindsay, and son, John. He and his family drove about 700 miles to be with us today, and we're honored with his presence. In addition to serving as today's keynote speaker, he is also being honored with Chadron State's prestigious Distinguished Alumni Award. Recipients of the Distinguished Alumni Award have demonstrated exceptional service to the college and distinguished themselves in their career in their community through volunteer and other efforts. Dr. Sharp meets this criteria many times over. We are proud to count him as a Chadron State alum. Dr. Sharp, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Kelvin Sharp, our most recent Distinguished Alumni Award recipient and our commencement speaker. Yet another medal. And I also have for you, and we'll just leave this here, a plaque for the Distinguished Alumni. And they want to take a picture of us here, so. Okay? Oh, okay. I'm going to turn the stage right over to you.
One of the first things I learned in Texas about Cowboy Etiquette is that when you walk in a building, you're supposed to take off your hat. So if you don't mind, I'll just take my hat off as we visit today. So I want to talk about this being my second trip to Chadron since I graduated in '79. My first trip was in the fall of 1996. It was the homecoming, and we came up here for the Athletic Hall of Fame, and we had a reception that Saturday morning, and a snowstorm chased us out of town. We ended up canceling the homecoming parade. Some of you nod, you remember that day. And I think they went ahead and played the football game, but we were headed back to Texas. We were afraid we were going to get snowed in. So I made that comment this morning, and a couple people told me, said, well, if every time you come to Chadron you bring moisture, we may have you come more often. And I said, well, if I come to Chadron again, I hope it's in July. And the other day, I had the privilege to teach a graduate course at Texas Tech, and we're talking about talking to graduate students that were going to become college administrators. And I gave them a sheet, and I said, write down your questions. And of course, one of them said, well, as a college president, what do you think your toughest decision is? Is it, you naturally think, well, it might be the budget or it might be a personnel issue. And I said, no. I said, the toughest decision I make is about the weather. I said, it's always a critical decision that you make in a short period of time with limited information that impacts a lot of people. And I think you today, all of you today, should recognize Dr. Park because she made a quick decision on the weather, and we're all here today to have commencement. So let's recognize her for that. Someone talked about the length of my speech, and I heard someone else say, well, you know, everything's bigger in Texas, so it's probably going to be pretty long. And I remember when the first community college that I had a job in, I'd only been in Texas about a year. I moved back to Texas in 1983 to take care of my grandparents. And it was at Clarendon College, and the history teacher talked about like this, and I thought, if that's what a Texas drawl is, I'll never get through a speech. So I'm going to try to do my best to talk Texan, but at least speak to you today and speak to these graduates about what I think will help them in their future. I want to, like Dr. Park, welcome the parents, the grandparents, family, friends, and especially the graduates here today. I want to thank Dr. Park, the president, for inviting me here to speak. It's an honor to come back to Chadron State and deliver the commencement address. I was probably one of those graduates that kind of buried themselves back there thinking, there's no way that I'll be up there on that stage. It's always beautiful here in the spring, even with the snow, the backdrop, the Pine Ridge. I just enjoy coming back. Some comments about where I come from, where I live now. I live in Levelland, Texas. It's about 30 miles west of Lubbock. I run a community college with about 9,000 students and about 600 employees. We have about 60% of those students taking academic courses. Most of those students will transfer to Texas Tech. About 40% of our students are taking technical courses so that they can be prepared for the workforce. The distance when we checked the odometer driving to campus was 767 miles, so that's how far we are from home. If you've heard the Kenny Chesney song, Don't Blink, there's a lyric in the song that goes, don't blink, 100 years goes faster than you think. I'm not sure about 100 years, but these past 29 have just flown right by. That's right, I graduated from Chadron in 1979. In those days, our phones had cords, our mail had stamps, our cameras had film, and when we wanted to find the web, we didn't click a mouse, we just dusted in the corner. Back then, we would say, I'm sorry, I just made a mistake. And today, the phrase I'm still trying to get used to is, my bad. I just haven't made it yet. Oh yes, and the price of gasoline. My immediate family and I lived, and I grew up in the community of Tryon. My pickup had two 20-gallon tanks, and I remember it taking one tank of gas to drive home and one tank of gas to come back. A tank of gas, 20 gallons, would cost me a $10 bill. That's right, gas was 49 cents a gallon. Today, that same tank of gas, today, that same things have changed. Graduates, today is one of those days that will create a memory for you, and that memory will last a lifetime. I remember my graduation day here. It began the night before because my team roping partner and I won the team roping at the college rodeo in Brookings, South Dakota. My grandmother and my aunt had driven from Texas to see me graduate. So we drove all the way from Brookings, South Dakota, all night to be at commencement that next morning. I was seated in the graduates next to Bob Cermak. Sharp, Cermak, alphabetical, you know, we're right there together. Bob Cermak was the tallest basketball player on the team. He stood about 6'8". So I told my grandmother, I said, you may not be able to see me. Just look for the tallest guy. I'm right next to him. And that was Bob Cermak. It's not only commencement that I remember about Chadron. As I reflect back, I recall some of the people here. Several have shaped my life in so many important ways. Coming to Chadron from McPherson County High School in Tryon was a bit of a shock for me. I remember Dr. Robert Dockstader, my freshman composition teacher, who worked on my writing skills, which I use today on a daily basis. And I noticed that Dr. Dockstader was recognized for 40 years of service at Chadron here just the other day. Would Would you graduates, if you were in Dr. Dockstader's class, would you raise your hand for me? How many of you were in his class? In 1979, his favorite saying was, sliding down the razor blade of life. Now, razor blades in 1979 were those double-edged kind. You rolled it up and it had a blade on each side. And I wondered if he didn't coin the modern phrase, being on the cutting edge. Even today, when I repeat his phrase, sliding down the razor blade of life, it tends to make me squirm. And then there was Douglas Brown, who taught that required 3-hour humanities course. Now, what does a kid from Tryon, Nebraska know about cultural things? Painting, literature, music? Well, I confess, I didn't know much. But I do recall an exercise that he put us through and how he made me question every theory that I ever learned. He even, as a math major, asked me, how do I know that 2 + 2 = 4? I can't explain the exercise, we don't have time. But I remember asking myself, questioning the norm, questioning the given, how dare he do that? Well, I must say, now, he dared and he did it well. I look back now and I know that this was my first exposure to what we call thinking outside the box. I use his exercise often these days on myself and my staff, and it's helped me develop my thinking skills and helped me make some good creative decisions. I laugh about my reaction to his teaching back then, but today I'm very grateful to Dr. Brown and his outside-the-box instruction. Next, there was Marley Smith, my mentor. His instruction in physics not only shaped my teaching style, but it has also shaped the persona that I maintain in my classroom. Mr. Smith came to class every day wearing a sports coat and a tie. He led us through the various chapters in physics like a head coach would lead a championship team. His teaching philosophy and mannerism shaped my life. And although he passed away a few years ago, I still have the greatest respect and admiration for Marley Smith. I also give credit to Mr. Jim Cause. He was my mathematics advisor, and his direction and advice helped a small town kid like me survive the system. Oh, and then Mr. Con Marshall, the man who has spanned the decades here at Chadron State College, writing about and virtually knowing everyone who has attended this college. I don't know how Con does it. I think he knew my name the first time I set foot on this campus. He called me by name every time he met me on this campus, and he has managed to keep in touch with me for 29 years. What a relationship to maintain over the years. You know, I bet today, if I asked Con Marshall how tall Bob Cermak was, he could tell me whether he was 6'8" or not. Reminiscing is fun, and I have some great memories of Chadron State College, but I came up here to talk to you, the graduates, and give you some words of wisdom, which I believe will help you with your careers. I want to keep it simple, and I want to use the letters CSC to make my points. The first is competition. In today's world, we hear all types of talk about global competition and how that will impact our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that you will have competition as soon as you walk out the door. You will have to face those challenges head on and be fearless. A good friend of mine was recently chosen as a finalist for a president's job at a position at another Texas community college. My advice to him would be the same advice I would give you. Build your confidence by knowing the various situations and the challenges of that position. Confidence comes through preparation. Yet most of all, be fearless. One of the greatest athletes of all time, Michael Jordan, said, "Some people want it to happen, some people wish it could happen, and others make it happen." The S is for stay current. I don't know if wind turbines and wind energy is all the buzz in western Texas or western Nebraska as it is in West Texas, but let me tell you, If you don't stay abreast of what's coming your way, you'll get trampled by the foot traffic. Will Rogers once said, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. I prefer short reads, newspaper articles, magazine articles for quick information. I prefer short meetings with specific agendas. Listening is very important. The statement, you can't learn while you're talking, is very true. I want to know what people are talking about and how it's going to impact my institution and even myself. Being informed allows me to make the best decisions. South Plains College has had a reputation many times of being the first to accomplish in the state of Texas. Graduates, an informed decision will get you noticed. The final C, compassion for people. My favorite quote from the motivational speaker Zig Ziglar is, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. Let me repeat that. You can get everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. Graduates, no matter what your major, you're going to find service to others is your calling. Be gracious, be appreciative, and most of all, make this world a better place to live. Thank you for listening, and may God bless each one of you.